Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's featured Reddit stories are from PettyRevenge. Story 1 is by Grant Chart. Be a jerk at the DMV? Bummer that you didn't get the cool license plate you wanted. When I was young, I worked at the DMV in an attempt to crush my soul enough to join the corporate world. One of the only joys of being in that place was the occasional funny or cool license plate that randomly showed up. Our state had a basic 3+3 pattern. 3 random letters and numbers, followed by a space to allow the state logo to appear, then 3 more letters and numbers. Every morning, I'd flip through the stack of plates on my station, looking for things like JMSBND or MTLICA. Not actual plates, though they're close to a couple that I did hand out. We all did this. Every time we found a really good one, it was the highlight of the day, something we'd share with coworkers and bring up at the dinner table when we got home that night. One day, a dude made it to the front of the queue of misery just as I had finished up with a customer. I was about halfway down the line of stations and yelled the standard, "I can help you from down here," at him. For some unknown reason, that angered him. He walked up to the nearest station and yelled back, "Why can't you help me down here?" and then spent approximately 3 times the amount of time it would have taken to process his registration arguing with me about why I had to help him there instead of at my station. Because apparently the long hike was just too much for him. Eventually, for reasons I can't understand, I gave up and schlepped on over to where he was standing. He was a total sourpuss the entire time, too. Couldn't understand why it took me so long to get set up and log in. Every question got a sarcastic response. Like, "Are you a state resident?" "Why the F would I be registering a car here if I weren't?" Yeah, I know the DMV is hell's antechamber, but you don't have to make it any worse than it actually is. Did it make him feel manly to mess with some random 19-year-old girl whose job could have been done by a vending machine in the mall? So as I'm filling in the form on that 1970s era green screen terminal, I notice the next license plate on the stack. It's a doozy. For the life of me, I cannot remember exactly. There were so many silly ones, they all blend together. But I do remember that it was cool and almost naughty. He sees it too. He's standing there staring at it like a kid about to get the biggest lollipop in the candy store. The PettyRevenge. So I make the briefest of eye contact, casually move the cool plate to the bottom of the stack, and key in the numbers and letters from the boringly mundane next one. I could almost see the gears turning in his head. Does he complain? If he does, he's going to sound like a total baby because he didn't get the plate he wanted. Am I going to charge him extra for a custom plate if he asks me for it? But no, he just fumes silently as I finish up. I don't really remember walking out to his car to verify the VIN, but I like to think I strutted just a little. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. That's one of the phrases that comes to mind when I think of this. Or, F around and find out. If you're going to act like a jerk, people still have to serve you, but if they can find a way to make you unhappy, they will, and you can't do anything about it. So just be polite. Oh, but I hate the DMV too. Like, loathe it. Our next story is by Secret Life. Shh. Eat my snacks, drink my juice, you'll be famous at the food bank. I, 28 male, have always been known as a generous, kind, and charitable person. I almost always share what I have without a second thought, and I don't mind going without something if it means someone else gets it. However, my family has a strict rule where if someone buys something with their own money, outside of what everyone contributes to the family via groceries or bills, then it's theirs only. Meaning if you want some, you have to ask and wait for the owner of said item to share. Thankfully, my family is also largely super picky, so 99% of what I buy myself in regards to meals, snacks, and treats remains 100% mine, and I never have to worry about someone, my brother and his revolving door of girlfriends, swiping it or accidentally eating it. That said, I always offer them something when I'm making it for myself anyway, so that nobody can say I'm greedy. As you can guess, the answer is always, no, I don't like that. While I'm not picky, I am autistic, which means texture issues, and Some of my previous loved foods or drinks no longer agree with me, or there are super specific, these ones only flavors or brands. The snack or juice in question this time are berry-flavored Pop-Tarts, as all other flavors make my mouth feel like puke, and very specific, I tried it on a whim and liked it, brand of apple juice. All apple juices besides this one taste like puke to me because of health issues. So when they come into the house, it's obvious they're bought by me and for my lunches or for work or movie night or whatever. And I know for a fact that my brother, 21, and his current girlfriend, 17, hate these flavors and that juice. However, when I came home from work or running errands on Saturday, I noticed an entire box of Pop-Tarts was gone from my shelf in the pantry. Weird, as I had not opened a box yet. I then turned and saw that a whole bottle of juice was missing as well, and there's no reason an entire 2-liter jug would go missing unless someone had sticky fingers. I texted my mom to ask if maybe my grandmother had stopped by. I often bought extra snacks just to give to her, so it wasn't unheard of for my mom to give her something and then to replace it. If that was the case, no harm done. But when she responded, I saw red. No, my grandmother had not been by. Instead, my brother and his newest girlfriend had apparently gotten high and drunk and raided the pantry. They have their own shelf, so why would anyone question or pay any real attention to what they took? He has his Pop-Tarts, and the drink she likes is identical in color and label to my juice. I found the empty bottle, box, and wrappers in the trash out by the fire pit. I asked them why they'd taken my snacks that they didn't like rather than their own, which were right at the entry to the pantry versus mine being at the back to prevent mix-ups. My brother shrugged and told me, "You're being so greedy and childish. Just take a jug or box from our shelf to replace it. We needed something to sober up." It was at that moment I realized the girlfriend was holding a sick bucket, and it dawned on me that they'd used my snacks to force themselves to throw up so that they could get sober faster. I decided I was done talking and immediately went into petty revenge mode. You see, since neither of them work, I often buy their snacks or communal ones when I go shopping. But the "I bought it, it's mine" rule still applies when their greed pops up. You see, we all love iced tea, and recently some flavors which usually can't be found here popped up on shelves, so I grabbed several jugs. 2 each, one for me, and they said they'd split theirs. I asked my dad for some old boxes and to borrow his good tape that he uses at work. He was confused, but when I told him what I was doing, he happily agreed. The first thing I did was put my share into the more secure boxes, tape them up, and put them into the garage. Did I mention I also love donating things to those who need them, especially the food bank? I put all their Pop-Tarts and drinks into 2 boxes, taped them up, and stuck a note addressing the boxes to our local food bank with their names on it. My father then very kindly gave me a ride to their secure drop-off bin. Once something goes in, the only way to get it out is for someone at the food bank to unlock the bin. I also put their cell number on the note to allow them to be thanked for their kind donation. By the time we got home, they were going ballistic and trying to tell the food bank that they had not donated anything and wanted their goods back. Once they realized it wasn't going to happen, my brother went to our mom and complained to her. She looked at my father and I, asking if it was true. I simply smiled and handed her the receipt for my last shopping haul, clearly showing that I had bought every crumb and drop myself. She looked it over, her eyes flashing with enough malice to send a bull moose fleeing, and said, "Secret bought it, and if they choose to donate it, oh well." My brother is still not talking to me, and his girlfriend cut her visit. She was here for his birthday, short. Oh well. Good petty revenge right there. If you paid for it, it's yours. They don't get to just steal your stuff. I would be so annoyed if that happened. Our next story is by Mad Cat Scientist. Monday's petty revenge. A few years ago, my ex and I decided to split. It was a hard breakup, but eventually I started to get over it and eventually moved on. However, even though I had moved on, my ex and his best friend, let's call him John, never really did. To add to this, I was young and dumb when I started dating my ex, and so both my ex and John work with me. After the breakup, leadership at work split my ex and me up and placed us in separate offices. However, they didn't know that John was living with my ex at the time, and John remained on my team. Therefore, John would constantly come up to me at work and excitedly say, "Hey, Mad Cat Scientist, good morning. How's your day going? Mine's great." This would always annoy me because I never really liked John to begin with and was only ever nice to him because he's my ex's best friend. Plus, it's fake. I know John enough to know that he was only doing it because he was getting under my skin with it. But we had to work together, and I was too nice and professional to tell leadership I had a personal issue with John. Therefore, John decided that if I wasn't going to complain, he was going to do what he could to stay under my skin. Then one day, I decided to get real high and meditate on the issue. Why did this bother me? Why does he keep doing it? Eventually, it hit me. John's just a bully, and getting under my skin makes him happy. So I have to stop letting him get under my skin. The next day, I got the drop on him. "Hey, John, good morning. How's your day going? Mine's great." He tried to respond, but the look of pure confusion on his face, that I, of all people, would initiate a conversation with him and be so happy about it, blew his mind. It was the best victory I could have ever gotten, but I didn't stop. I did it every time I saw him for as long as I could keep it up. I turned the table so hard on him that I've watched as he walked out of his way just to stay clear of me. And there was nothing John could do, because we've worked on the same team and I never reported him, so he couldn't report me. Plus, what was he going to report on? That I was being nice and asked him how his day was going? Eventually, I moved on to a different team, and while we still work in the same office, we are far more cordial to each other. Yet, every once in a while when I see him preening about something dumb at work, I like to remind him that, "Nah, dog, you ain't got nothing yet. You can't even touch me." "Hey, John, good morning. How's your day going? Mine's great." That's a pretty good way to deal with somebody who is basically harassing you by saying something to you every day. Even if it's not something rude, this guy was obviously harassing her. And she turned it around, and that's awesome. I wish that sort of thing happened more frequently. Our stories have come to a close for today. If you enjoyed this content, please consider clicking like or subscribe. It helps my channel grow and reach a larger audience. Until we meet again, have a bodacious day.